him. I've loved him for years.
I think he's fantastic.
I really look forward to him because he's very funny.
He's absolutely brilliant. First class.
I think he's fantastic now. I've been a big fan for years.
He's a nugget.
He goes somewhere nice. Where's that? Wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's performance will be starting in 10 minutes.
This is reminding me of Sunday night at Gaiety.
I think he's pretty super. He's a funny man.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Well, then, that's as good as 1 minute. It is, isn't it?
I love him. He's brilliant.
Moment of truth. I did. Welcome, everybody. Oh, merciful hour. It's great to be back. It really is great to be back in Dublin. It really is great. Because I'm living abroad. I live abroad most of the time. And when I come back, I'm coming into Dublin Airport. Oh, God bless us all. And there was a crowd of people there to meet me. Well, they weren't to meet me. They were the customs. And I was waiting there inside in the terminal building there. I hate that word. Oh, God almighty. I'm waiting inside in that building. I was waiting for the bags to come out. My wife and her mother were waiting. No, hold on. That's a sexist remark. I don't want you to get the wrong impression. I said my wife and her mother were there while we were waiting for the bags to come out. Let me just put it that way. And while I'm standing there, this French guy came up to me, and I was fascinated. French people, you know, they're supposed to be very romantic. Not that I have any reason to know why they wouldn't be. Any fella going around all day going, oui, 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 oui. So this French guy came up to me in the middle of the baggage hall, and he kissed me on both cheeks. He really did. I was so embarrassed, because I was tying my lace. I was tying my lace at the time, and he kissed me. And I blew him one back. Oh, shit. Oh, that was French. But it's a great country for tourism, Ireland is. The Americans love us. Oh, the Americans can't get enough of us. I live, as I said, over there, and there's one particular guy who lives next door to me. He's a Texan, you see, and, you know, Texans brag. They're always saying that everything they do is better than everybody else. And he said, hi, how you doing there, guy? You're the guy from Ireland. Top of the morning to you. I try to explain to him, we don't say top of the morning anymore. He's thinking of Darby O'Gill and the Quiet Man and all those things. And funny enough, he says to me, I gotta go there, you know, because Ireland means a lot to me, and I want to see one of those Laprusians. I said, the what? He said, I want to see a Laprusian. Little guys with the green jackets, funny hats. I said, that's a leprechaun, you tick. Leprechaun. I said, there are no leprechauns in Ireland. I tell them the truth. I don't pull any punches. I tell them the truth that there are no leprechauns in Ireland. We all know that. We're all long enough in the tooth to know that there are a few fairies, but there's no leprechauns. No, you do. You see the toadstools from place to place. There hasn't been a leprechaun in Ireland ever since the Chinese found out they taste like chicken. We've eaten the leprechauns. We've eaten them all. In spring rolls. By degrees, they're all gone. He says, I want to go to Ireland. I want to see my forefathers. See what I mean about bragging? We all have one father, they have to have 4 fathers. So he arrived over here and he took a hotel here in Dublin and he's out walkabout one day and he goes to Moore Street. Now, there's no better place than Moore Street for a Texan because he'll meet his match anyway. And Moore Street is fantastic. The lovely ladies up there working out in all the hail, rain and snow, and they always have a kind word and a witty word. This guy goes up to one of them, he picked his match, and he walks up to the stall and he picks up a cucumber. Big one. He said, golly gee, what the hell, what do you call these things here? He said, that's a cucumber. Cucumber. 5 for 50. He says, you call this a cucumber? Why, back in Galveston, Texas, where I'm from, we got green beans bigger than those cucumbers. He said, yeah, is that right? Yes, yeah. Must be a nice place. And our blood now is beginning to boil. And she's getting ready with the artillery. And he leaves down the cucumber and he walks to the other side of the stand and he picks up a Granny Smith apple, a big green apple. So say there, ma'am, what the hell do you call these things here in Ireland? She said, the same as you call them in America. Apple. It's an apple. He said, why, back in the United States, we got green grapes bigger than those apples. That's right, yeah. He said, that's funny, in Ireland, we only grow them to suit the size of our mouth. Bury him. He had no answer. He had no answer for that one, and as he's turning away with embarrassment to walk away from her, he swung around, and one of his 5 cameras swung out and knocked a head of cabbage straight to the ground. And she said, come back here and pick up that Brussels sprout now. Pick it. I go to the doctor whenever he's sick, whenever I'm sick. And I feel that you gotta go there. Here's things I do when I go to the doctor. I never go in the morning. I make a point of not going to the doctor in the morning. I always wait until early in the afternoon till his hands are warm. You know, I'm always, I'm a bit sensitive to the touch, you see. And I went along to the doctor just to get a checkout, and a strange doctor, this fella, oh my goodness, he's very strange. He wanted to get on the couch with me. I said, thank you, but no. Oh, a strange fella. He wanted me to hold him and cough. And I said, now please, don't be taking the wrong meaning out of this. And he started to give me the lecture, and that's something I can't handle. I hate being told that I'm overweight, because I know, even at my heaviest, I was never overweight. I was under tall. The correct height for my weight at the moment is 7'10½". So he went through all the questions and gave me all the drill, and, he says, you're going to have to lose a lot of weight, he says. So he put me on the scales. Now, I prefer the old-fashioned scales, the one from years ago, the one with the, it only comes to 20 stone and it stops. Doesn't matter what weight you are after that, you're still only 20 stone. But anyway, he put me on this electronic scale, kind of a talking scale. So I stood up on it, and it said, 1 at a time, please. What an insult. And then he fed me a great line. I was so happy to get it back. He says, Mr. Grace, he says, what's the lightest you've ever been? I said, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. But I'm trying to do my best, especially for my wife. My darling wife, I have to say, she's a wonderful, wonderful person, and we have a wonderful relationship. We have, and I want to tell you this too. We have tremendous. I go home as often as I can. and seriously, you're looking at somebody here who has had 22 very happy years of marriage. How about that? 22 very happy years. No, please, I don't want any applause. We're married 29 years. But 22 of them were absolutely fantastic. And we try to do the best we can, you know, because when you get to that particular stage in your marriage, you have to kind of, you know, we fight like everybody else does. The truth is, she can sometimes be very cross with me. She says, even when you're in the house, I'm on my own. If I look at you, the fire goes out. If I look at the fire, you go out. And I can't keep her happy. If I come home early, she thinks I'm looking for something. Come home late, she thinks I don't know. It's ridiculous. We get to that stage. Anybody who's married, you know, you get to the point in your marriage when you have to do spicy little things. Are you with me? You know, you have to, you know, wear the gear, as I call it, the gear. The little black number here, and the little kind of, you know, half cup black number here. You know what I'm talking about? Although it looks ridiculous on me. She just can't get used to that. But I said to her one night, we had a few bottles of wine, and I said to her, now tonight's the night we're gonna have. Let's make it special, I says, when we're, you know, because she can sometimes, you know, she can be a bit odd. She closes her eyes now when, no, she does, she closes her eyes when we make now. Hates to see me enjoying myself. Hates it. So I said, tonight, we're going to do it different. Tonight, I says, I want you to do me a favor. I says, I want you to react to me. Just react, I said. Just give me the impression I'm there. Just for once. I says, I want you to moan. Oh, my goodness, I'll never forget it. The minute we started, look at the state of the ceiling, look at the bloody ceiling falling down. Them curtains are falling off the bloody wall, and there's no light in the bathroom. When are you going to fix the toilet? She moaned for a week. 1 full week. But we still have this great love for each other. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing we have this great love, and especially when her birthday, and she has another birthday this year. She never misses one. I was lying in bed this morning. It was a special moment, you know. I was lying to her, she was lying to me. And I said, what would you like for your birthday? She said, the widow's pension. I said, no, seriously. When you wake up on the morning of your birthday, what would you most like to have? I said, don't even think about the expense. I don't want you to think about money. Isn't that something different, girls, isn't it? I said, don't think about the expense. You're worth it. I said, what would you like? She said, a divorce. Well, I said, I hadn't intended spending quite that much. One morning, she came down, it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I was there. I have to admit, I had a few drinks. I don't know whether I was coming in or going out. But I was trying to fry a Weetabix. And she appeared at the door. And all you could see was a puff of smoke coming in before her. I thought they were after electing a new pope. And she's standing there in the doorway in her negligent. See-through, I'm talking about see-through, you could see her Wellington. No, I couldn't. Honestly, you could see her Wellingtons, her scapulars, her vest, and her medal from Knock. And she's standing there at 6 in the morning in the kitchen. She said, oh, I want you to make mad, passionate love to me. I said, why pick on me? I said, why on earth do you want me to make love to you in the kitchen of all places at 6 in the morning? She says, I want to time an egg. Not good. And then you get to the stage in your life when you get older. I feel I'm getting older. And anybody who's getting older, here's a couple of signs of old age. If any of these apply to any of you, you could be on the way out. You're on the slippery slope. You know you're getting old when you bend down to tie your lace and you wonder, is there something else I should be doing when I'm down this far? So you're thinking 2 jobs at the one time. Should I pull up me socks or whatever? It's the lazy man's load, they call it. Another way you know you're getting old, when your family talk about you in front of you. And then you learn the difference between a house and a home. It's the truth. A home is where they'll put you when they get you out of the house. It's true, it's staring us in the face. My eldest daughter came to me recently and she wanted to borrow against the will. And then she tried to convince me it was a short-term loan. You know you're getting old when you look at Crime Watch instead of Baywatch. That means you're on the slippery slope. Have I applied that to anybody here yet? Am I getting close? You know you're getting old when you wake up in the morning and your toes outnumber your teeth. Then you know you're in trouble. You know you're getting old when yourself and your teeth don't sleep together anymore. I think I'm getting close now. I'm hitting home. When you wake up in the morning and that smile at your bedside is not the person with whom you went to bed. It's your teeth in a jam jar. I'm going back a few years, and myself and my wife, you know, it was our wedding anniversary. So I said, I'll take her down to the pub with me tonight. It was a special anniversary. It was her 25th wedding anniversary. So I came down, and I kind of surprised her, you know, with the proposition. I says, put your coat on, love. She says, am I going with you? I says, no, I'm going to turn off the heating. What do you think? Of course you're coming with me. And we locked the whole house up. We went all around the house to lock it up because we were terrified that we'd be burgled. And we went all around the back of the house, turned all the locks, jammed all the bolts like that, closed the windows, nailed down the rod in the bathroom window like that, stuck things up against the door, stuck things on the sliding door, went around, went out towards the hall, and did the typical Dublin thing. It's a typical thing. We leave on the lights. We leave the lights on. The burglar will think we're in. That doesn't work. You leave on the lights, the burglar doesn't have to bring a torch. You leave on the lights, the burglar can do your house as a nixer on his way to another job. It's a typical Dublin thing. We leave the lights on, and we leave the radio on, yeah, and we leave on the television. So we leave on the gas, and we leave the water running as well. In case he wants a cup of tea and a shower before he goes home. We leave everything on. And we locked our front door. 3 different ways, 2 bolts like that, dead bolts, and 1 yay lock on the top, turn it around. And we went outside, and I even took the unprecedented precaution of getting a banner, like you'd see over the street in a festival. And I painted on the banner, as I hung it up over the house, I am inside. We went down to the pub, we're having our few little drinks, my mobile phone goes off and I hear, hello, would you be interested in a burglar alarm system for your house? I said, excuse me. I said, this is time out for me. I said, I'm here, I'm having a few drinks with my wife. I said, if you're going to try and sell me something in this cheap way over the phone, I said, would you please call me during the day? And I said, why do you think I need a burglar alarm system for the house anyway? He said, because I'm calling from your house at the moment. It was only then that I noticed my own number was on the mobile phone. So I didn't know what to do. So I grabbed the wife's drink and I knocked it back. And we made a beeline for a taxi. And the 2 of us running outside for the taxi, and we came back to the house. And it was only when we got back to the house that I realized we were done. Glass all over the place. And the sign, I couldn't believe the sign. I may as well have put up, Happy New Year. I put my sign up, I am inside. He put his own sign up, I looked everywhere for you. But anyway, we went up to bed that night, nervous. There's no point in saying that we weren't nervous. I was more anxious than nervous. And we went up to go to bed. We'd had a few drinks. We took a few Irish coffees and a couple of hot whiskies to, you know, to bring our adrenaline up. And we went upstairs to our waterbed. Waterbed. Ooh, ooh, on Laba Ishka. Waterbed, it's fantastic. If you haven't been a waterbed, you don't know what you're missing. Oh, baba boom, baba boom, baba boom, boom, boom. Hawaii 5-0, crest of a wave. That's true. We bought 2 waterbeds about 10 years ago. You buy one, you get one half price. We bought We bought two of them. We gave one of them to our mother, and she drank it. We have our own. But it's a fantastic, experience in the waterbed. Ooh, you lad, you. She calls my side of it the Dead Sea. Her side is the Arctic. But she woke me up at 4 in the morning. I couldn't believe it. 4 o'clock on the dot. Wake up. 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 She shook the sheets off the bed. Wake up. Somebody, what's wrong? What's wrong? Wake up. I said, I am awake. She said, there's someone banging on the door downstairs. I said, I don't hear any banging. Because you were snoring, you big fat pig. You were snoring, there's someone banging downstairs. Could be the burglar coming back. Maybe he forgot something. And it's your job to protect me. I'm your bride. I said, no, I'm not going down the stairs. I wasn't going down. 4 o'clock in the morning, I was disorientated. She made me go down. Not physically, verbally. That's true. My wife has a tongue that could clip a hedge. She'd cut the ground from under you with her tongue. Oh, she'd frighten you. She'd frighten you with her word. And she said the 3 words that most married men hate. Are you afraid? We don't like those, do we, fellas? No, because we think we're macho. So we hate to hear, are you afraid? When you married me, you told me you were very brave. I said, so did me friends. But anyway, I have to tell you, I was out of the bed slowly now. I was working now on 3 cylinders. Few drinks on me. I was grumpy as well. I may as well be honest with you. I was grumpy as well. So I'm sitting, if you can imagine, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting on the edge of a waterbed, waiting for the wave to push me over the side. And I don't want to upset you girls, but I was scantily clad. I hadn't a lot on. I don't want you all going off thinking about me tonight. Just try to think of me as normal, like your fella. So I'm sitting there in the darkness of the bedroom. I only had one half of my pajamas on me. The top half. So I'm there now. I'm heading between the bed and the crack under the door where the light is shining in from the landing. And there I am walking towards it. And you know the way you'd be, fellas, at 4 in the morning, you would kind of... You'd be sorting, you'd be stock taking. Isn't that what you'd be doing? You'd be checking yourself out, you see. And I go like that. And didn't I get into a panic? Didn't I think I had a wedgie? Oh! You know the way you can get a wedgie? Everybody gets a wedgie. You get them on the bus. Did you ever get a wedgie on the bus? And you're out there and you're praying that you're the only one getting off at the next stop. So you'll be on your own when the bus goes and you can give yourself a good laugh. Because if there's somebody else getting off the bus, you have to be discreet, you know. You're kind of going... Did you ever notice when you're trying to do something like that, you think your chin is helping you to do it? You know? Anyway, I then said to myself, how on earth could I have a wedgie when all I have is the top of my pajamas on me? It turned out to be the pillowcase. Oh, merciful hour tonight. I'm down the stairs now. I'm halfway towards the landing. And she said, get back here. Come back up here. You're not going down like that. Get back here and put the legs of them pajamas on you now. In case anybody sees you through the window. You think I married you for your money. Oh, the girls love that one all right. Oh, yes. Thank you, girls, for that vote of confidence. But I went down to that front door, and when I opened my front door, there's a guy standing there, and this guy was locked. That is a word for drunk. In Ireland today, there are 3 stages of drunkenness. And it only applies to the Irishman. We have that privilege all over the world. Any other country, you're either sober or you're drunk. But in Ireland, there's 3 stages. There's drunk, scuttered, and transmogrified. Transmogrified is when the fella is so drunk that when he speaks, nothing comes out. Did you ever notice that? Did you ever see a fella like that? He thinks he has said something, but he hasn't. You'll see him in the chipper. You'll see him in the chipper, in any Irish chipper, after the pub's closed, about 2 o'clock in the morning. You'll see him there as he stands at the back of the chipper, admiring other people's shoes. Did you ever see that fella, did you? This fellow was gone. I said, I hope you have a good reason for getting me out of my bed at 4 in the morning. He said, I'm looking for a push. I said, you've got me out of my bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to tell me you're looking for of all the houses along here, you have chosen me to give you a push. I said, there's a thing called the Automobile Association. They will look after you. I says, now, would you ever flip off? I told him to flip off. I slammed the door, went back upstairs, and she was ready for me. Miss Marples. Tried to solve. Who was it? Why was he here? When is he going back? When? Why was he here? Who? Why? When? What? How? Why? How? Why? When? How? Why? What? I said, hold your... I said, he was a drunk at the door looking for a push. I said, did you give him a push? I said, I wasn't going to give him a push. I wasn't going to give him a push. Get a cold up in me kidneys. Strain me back. No, I said I wasn't going to give him a push. I told him to fizz off and call the AA. But she said, you won't have an hour's luck. You won't have 1 hour's luck. Turning a human being from our door in a need of crisis. The man was in need. He could have been demented. That poor unfortunate man could have been distracted. You don't know where you've sent him. You've turned him away from our door. That could have been God. That was probably God at the door, dressed up as one of us. And you'll meet him. Oh, she frightened the life out of me. Because I'm now thinking, what if it was God? Because I'm now thinking, door, gates. What happens if supposing Peter is on a weekend off? When I go up there and God is covered in front of him, he'll remember me. So I got into me dressing gown and me slippers. And I made a run for the front door. And I opened up that door to the darkness of my front garden. All I could see were silhouettes of trees. And I was in a panic. And I looked out there and I said, hello? Hello? Are you still there? And then I hear, yes. Yes, I am. Are you still looking for a push? Oh, yes, please, yes. Where are you? I'm over here on the swing. I have a wonderful sister, and she's a very successful lady. She's much younger than me, far prettier, and she's successful in her business. She's a professional lady here in Dublin. You're making up your own jokes now, are you? You see the minds you have, just because I mentioned professional in Dublin. She has her own beat. So it's a great business to be in. Where would you get a business like mine? You have it, you sell it, you still have it. There's a lot to be said for it. Am I right or wrong? No stock taken. I mean, no invoicing. But she had a fella came up to her one time. He was the admiral. He was an admiral for a US ship that was in Dublin Harbour. And he was all dressed up in his medals. He had all his gear, his medals, and his stripes, and everything you can imagine, and the hat, you see. And in his own way, he was the captain of the ship, you see. And he came up to her on the dock. He says, "Hi, I'm the captain of the USS Catfish." "Yes," she said, "well, hurry up. There's 20 more to be served tonight." And he looked her straight in the face, and he says, "Say, are you going to charge?" And she says, "Well, if you're nervous, I'll walk slowly towards you." That one takes a while. That takes a while to get around the whole building. That'll be funnier in the morning than it is tonight. But you see the way nobody's offended. Nobody's offended about the things that I say. Because what I do is I talk about my family. My dad, Lord rest his blessed soul, my father, he told us a story one time. He worked in a bar in Dublin way back in the late 50s, early 60s, and it was right opposite the Theatre Royal in Dublin, and it was in this is in the days of the old money. Does anybody here, a lot of you don't remember the old money here tonight, although I think you do. Remember the old money before we had euro, before we had punts, before we had, remember LSD, when it was only money. And it was hard to get your mouth around some of the prices, you know, 1 and 11 pence halfpenny. Nobody had money in those days. But he said a man came into the bar one night, and he obviously came from the Theatre Royal, and it was a very wet night, and he described this man coming in, and my father figured that he was ahead of a group who were with him ordering drinks for the interval. So this guy came in, shaking his umbrella, and he was bent over shaking the umbrella, and he says, "Give us 2 pints of Guinness, 3 pints of Guinness, 2 pints of Smithwick's, a pint of Harp, 3 gin and tonics, a vodka and tonic, a rum and black, a brandy and ginger, and a Bacardi and Coke." And he ordered a load of drinks. My father couldn't believe that he could remember all the drinks. So he put the drinks along the counter, lined them up like that, and the man started at this end like this. And he went the full length of the counter. And he drank everything in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, everything was gone. Everybody in the pub applauded him for this. It was a feat. And my father says, "I've never seen anything like that." He said, "That is the quickest." He said, "Just to remember the drinks was one thing, but to drink them so fast, I've never seen it before." And this man looked up at my father and he said, "Well, you drink that fast if you had what I have." And my father says, "Why, what have you?" He says, 2 and 6. My father said he was going to throw him out. And he even said to him, he says, "You're not pulling a stunt on me," but he says, "You were humorous about it," he says, "and I won't say anything." But he says, "You chose the right pub to do it in." Because he says, if you pulled that stunt in Finnegan's pub across the road, they'd break your back. And he said, "Where do you think I'm coming from at the moment?" My grandfather. I can tell you a story about my grandfather. It's a true story, and I remember, Lord rest his blessed soul, 93 when he passed on, and all his family there with him. All his family were by his side. You know, I was there. I was only a very, very young child, and I remember sort of sitting down beside him, you know, as a very young child, on his last. He was on his last. I didn't know he was, you know, on his last, but he was. And, you know, we were sitting there, and all his sons, my dad and all the brothers, were all sitting around the room playing cards. And he said, my grandfather said to me, he said, what's the smell? I said, Grandad, I said, the smell. I said, what kind of a smell? Is it a sweet? Is it an orangey? What kind? He said, there's a smell. There's a smell of food. Food? I said, well, I know. I said, when I was coming up the stairs, I said, Nana was at the stove. She had a big pot on with a shoulder of ham in it. Oh, the shoulder of ham. Well, Miss Mary, would you bring me up a few slices of fresh ham and leave the fat on it? And she says, no, so that's for the weight. You know, I know you're not offended with that because it was my grandfather. And he fell back. I'll always remember the thump as he fell back in his bed. And everybody, you know, obviously, you know, gone on to his greater award. And my dad and all the brothers stood up and they said a couple of decades of the rosary, you know, and then they started to talk about him, you know. And one of them said, he was a great man. He was a powerful man, a good father and a good husband to mother. And we'll give him a good send-off. Now, he said, I see you're after booking 3 cars for the funeral tomorrow. He said, that's too many. There's no point in going for 3 cars. It's a small village. We'll manage with 2 cars, and it'll be least expensive. And the other brother says, what are you looking for 2 cars for? Why would you want 2 cars following a hearse when there's people around here with cars and they'll give them lifts? To save a few more shillings. And the other brother, who was as tight as a duck. Now, I'm serious, he was very tight. And he kicks in his tuppence halfpenny worth. Say, what are you talking about, which are 3 cars and 2 cars? What's the point in having any car at all? Sure, it's a nice short walk. It's only a half a mile from the church up to the cemetery. And anybody who can't walk will get lifts. And with that, I could feel, because I was still holding my granddad's hand, I could feel the heat coming back into his hand. And I could feel a surge of blood coming into his veins. And you know something? He pulled me up. He just dragged me like that, and he pulled himself up in the bed, grabs me shoulder, pulls me up, and in a feeble voice, forced, he says, come here. Come here. Come here over here, you shower of bastards. Come over here. Shall I save you? Shall I save you some more expense? Here. See, here's what you'll do. Go over to the wardrobe and give me my coat and hat and my stick. And I'll walk up to the cemetery. Oh, dear. My granny was someone that I particularly loved. I think everybody loved their granny. Everybody who's a granny, if your granny is living, you love her. If she's gone, you miss her. And that's the way it was over the years with me. My grandmother in her own, and I can remember certain things about her. There were certain, and God bless us all, didn't I think she had twisted legs? I actually thought her legs were twisted. And it was only afterwards when my mother explained, it was her stockings, it was her nylons that used to twist. And another thing I remember about my grandmother, she had a certain medical, well, it wasn't a medical disposition, it was a kind of an internal kind of a disturbance, if you're with me so far. Kind of a meteorological situation. And she used to blow off, never so often. That's what we used to say years ago, blow off. And it was very subtle, and you know, it was, that's all. When you'd least expect it. That's all. A simple little, like anybody, there's no point in pretending you're just upset. We all do it. If you didn't, you'd burst. Now, I'm just telling you. That's why you should be laughing out as much as you can. She used to pull up her nylons in the morning. She was She was very old-fashioned. She didn't use garters. My mother explained that she thought garters were vulgar and suspenders were things of the devil. So what she'd do in the morning is she'd pull up her stockings like that. And she'd tie a knot there. Like that. Did anybody ever do that, did you? A knot. And the same with this side, like that. And then, now, for the first part of the day, they'd be perfectly straight. But as the day wore on, they'd slacken off, and they'd twist. And that's how I used to think her legs were twisted. And then tights came in. And she didn't understand tights. She couldn't come to terms with this new thing, instead of nylon stockings, tights. She couldn't understand both legs going into the same opening, you see. So what she used to do was, when she'd get the tights, she'd cut the legs off. She'd throw away the middle piece, and she'd pull them up the same as nylons. And then they eventually got the scissors off her. And she eventually then got used to wearing them as full tights. But she was old-fashioned. She did the same with them as she did with the stockings. She pulled them up that far. And the same on that side. That's as far up as she'd get them. Now, if you can imagine now, there's now a kind of like a kangaroo's pouch across her hair. Are you with me? Like that. And it ruined her walking. She ended up walking that way. That's the way she walked. Because of the, see, if she put her leg too far forward, the elastic would drive the leg backwards. And she'd be taking one step back for every step forward, going nowhere. That was my granny. She had a sudden death, tragically, but I know she's in heaven. She was sitting down, we were at a wedding a round table, family wedding. All the tables spread out around the hotel. My Uncle Tommy was sitting right opposite her. Bald as a coot. Now, don't get any balder than my Uncle Tommy. Sitting across from her. She's sitting over here. And she's sitting there with the gear on her, you see. And my Uncle Tommy was smoking the pipe and dropped it. He now gets down on the floor to look for the pipe. And he proceeded in under the table. And whatever way the light was shining, she saw the reflection of his baldy head. Didn't she think her knee had come out through the stocking? And she gets her dress and pulls it down over his head. Right over his head. He's plunged into darkness. Now he thinks the lights in the hotel have fused. And he goes for his lighter. Now, everything would have been fine. Everything would have been fine except for her timing. Because at the same moment that he flicked the lighter, she let go. She let go a haymaker. Now, I could only describe this in slow motion. If you could imagine the lighter coming out of the pocket and coming up like, and it was kind of, blew her away. We never saw her since. I had a typical Irish education. I think it was typical, like a lot of us. We all kind of had a. I think we all went to school around the same time, didn't we? You know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. You know. And the thing about it is that we all look back at a religious education. That was the Irish education. As far as I'm concerned, you had the nuns for the first few years, and then the Christian brothers finished you off. That was basically it. Nuns to start, Christian brothers to finish. And I can tell you, with my hand on my heart, that the nuns were tougher than the brothers. We had a tough time with the nuns, and God bless them, they had to be tough because we were from a very rough part of the country. And we were wild young fellas, wild as devils. And the Christian brothers were fantastic, they really were, except that there was such a thing as corporal punishment in those days. And you could get slapped about by the Christian brothers. The lads wouldn't think twice of taking a wooden duster from 30 yards and standing it down like that and taking the eye out of you. And I was used to beatings, you know. Before I went to school, my father used to slap me around the house, and then on the way to school, the young fellas from the flats got me. Then I'd get into school, and the teachers had knocked the daylights out of me. And then on the way home from school, the fellas from the other side of the canal would catch me and beat me up again. And then I got back to the house, and my mother had beat me upstairs. But in those days, we were nervous, you know. My dearest friend in school, who turned out to be a priest. Now, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this fella had a shocking stutter. And before he became a priest, he got a job as a Bible salesman. Now, it sounds like not the type of job that you would get in Ireland. But in these particular days, the Bible salesman job came from the United States, where they had the Bible Belt, and they started it off here, and this fella got a job selling Bibles around the districts of Dublin from door to door. And he became the highest paid salesman of Bibles at the time. And the boss came over from America, and he said, I want to meet this guy who's selling, he's sold 20,000 Bibles in 6 months. He says, I want to know how he does it. So they called him in, and he says, yes. He said, oh, sit down there. He says, you're going to be financially rewarded, but we got to know how you're doing it. He says, well, first of all, I go up to the door, and I knock. And when they answer the door, I'd say, hi. Would you like to buy a Bible? Or would you prefer if I read it to you? Right? No, right. You are looking at me. Oh, Janie Mac, hope I'm out back. When I was a little boy, nobody loved me. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Me mammy didn't want me. Yeah, and I was an ugly little babby. Babby, I said. I didn't say the B word. I don't like that B word. B word that ends with D. An AR in front of it. I hate that word. There's a new word for that now. It's called love child. Isn't that a nice word? Isn't it nicer? A love child. Although I can't see it catching on at football matches. The referee is a love child. And we were a very, very poor family. I'll never forget it. Yeah, I remember one morning my daddy was trying to get to work, and my mammy gave me a little white button that size, and she put it in my hand, and she said, would you ever go in next door to Mrs. Murphy and ask her would she sew a shirt onto that for your father? But even though we were poor, we were starving. We weren't happy. Yous would have been bloody well happy.
And I never forget it. I got myself into more trouble myself. Yeah, when I'd mitch from school, whenever I wouldn't go to school, I'd go into a phone box and I'd tap out the number of the school and I'd put on a deep voice. Hello, and I speak to Brother Hurley. He'd say, speaking. Bottler can't come to school today because he's not well. And he'd say, who's calling? It's me father. I put my foot in it every time. And there was Christmases that I got nothing. I'll never forget one Christmas, I came down and it was a real bad time for me. I got a package of batteries and they weren't included. And me pal Rasha Mulligan was next door and he was after getting a lovely fire engine. Yeah, he got a lovely fire engine, one that you could sit in or get pushed in or someone could pull it along, and I was a bit jealous. And he came up with a great idea. He went in next door and he got Mr. O'Reilly's Labrador. Lovely Labrador, and he got the line, the clothesline as well. And he tied the clothesline around the Labrador, around the front of the Labrador's neck, and he tied it onto the fire engine so he could pull him along. And then I noticed he also had Mrs. Grogan's cat. And he had the cat tied as well. No, not with a rope. He had a kind of a string around. It wasn't around the cat's neck. He had it. It was a tomcat. And he had it tied around the tomcat there. And I said, so what are you doing with the string around there? I said, you should have the string around his neck so you get better traction. He said, well, what'll I do for a certain then? It was so funny when I was in school. The teacher looked at me one day and said, Butler, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I'm writing a letter. Well, that's clever. And who's the letter to? Myself. Good boy. And what's in the letter? I don't know, because I won't get it till Friday. Get out to the line. Get out. Yes. Razor Flanagan, give me 2 days of the week beginning with the letter T. Today and tomorrow. You get out with him. Pockets O'Neill. If you had a dozen sweets and I took 50%, what would I have? A broken arm. Get back. And stop swinging out this chandelier. Okay, little boy here. Yes? Yes. Rogers? Yes, sir. What can you tell us about Kipling? He makes exceedingly good cakes. You. In Greek mythology, who was half man, half beast? Buffalo Bill. You. Who was Joan of Arc? Was it Noah's wife? Snodzer. Yes, sir. Now, I want a question for you. I want you to do mental arithmetic for the class. Mental? Yes. I'm not mad. I just do it. In your mind. Okay. Now, 2 and 2. 2 and 2 and 4. Yes, well, that's the correct answer, but you didn't do it the right way. Try it again. Okay. Ask me again. Ask me 2 and 2 again. No, I'm going to ask you 3 and 3. And 3 and 3. 3 and 6. Yes, that's the correct answer, but you didn't do it in your head. You did it on your fingers again. I was watching you through the blackboard. Okay. Now, 5 and 5. 5. 5.
Get out there. No, you. Willie O'Keefe.
Yes, sir.
What can you tell us about St. Patrick?
He was a saint.
Yes, we all know he was a saint, but what else was he?
I don't know. He was before my time.
He was a shepherd.
Oh, shepherd.
Now tell us, what does a shepherd do? What is a shepherd?
I don't know.
Well, you have to figure it out for yourself. If you spent all day long making furniture with a hammer and nails and screws and things like that, what would you be?
A carpenter.
Yes. If you spent all day long nailing shoes onto horses' feet, what would you be?
A shepherd.
No, you'd be a blacksmith.
Okay.
Do you get the idea?
Yes.
Now, if you spend all day long following sheep up the side of a mountain, what would you be?
I would be a ram.
Get out to the line there.
Get out.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget me sister. Yeah, I'll never forget me sister was, the phone rang one day, and the man said,
Hello?
She says, hello.
I'd like to speak. Who's this?
This is Mary.
Can I speak to your mother?
No.
Why can't I speak with your mother?
Because she is busy.
Okay. Well, can I speak with your father?
No.
Why not?
Because he is busy. He's very, very busy.
Mary, are there any other grown-ups in the house?
Yes.
Who?
The guards. The Garda Shigaloni are here.
Well, can I speak to one of them?
No.
Why?
Because they're busy. They're very, 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 very busy.
And what are they all doing?
And they're looking for me.
Gosh, he was marvellous, yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Brilliant.
Absolutely
Brilliant.
excellent.
Fabulous. First class.
He's brilliant. It was wonderful. He's getting better all the time.
Might be same again.
See you tomorrow night, bright and early. Bye.